Hello everybody and welcome back to part 2 of list building in 3rd edition with Cities of Sigmar. Today we're going to be going through Tempest and then the 4 extra cities that we got from the Broken Realms book, so Har Kuron, Misthavn, Settlers Gain and Excelsis, and I'll have an example list for each city and the reasons behind why I built them in the way that I did. So once again, I've got to say thank you to all the patrons. We've got a newer patron this week, so Jackson Wall, welcome to the group. You're all absolute legends. Thanks for supporting me and encouraging me to make the content that I make. If anyone else wants to reach out and get some help with some list building or just to chat cities, the easiest way and the quickest way to do that is to sign up as a patron and then message me as a member of the Patreon community. Alright, so let's start with Tempest, just because that was the last one from the main battle tome. So this list basically has Har Kuron Overlords units in it. I don't think they're completely worth it anymore because technically, under the current FAQ, they don't get the Cities of Sigmar keyword, which means they don't benefit from the Har Kuron. This list is built with the assumption that they're going to benefit from the Har Kuron, right? Because that's how it used to work, and I think it's just an oversight that they no longer get the Cities of Sigmar keyword. But at the same time, if you take this and someone calls you on it in a tournament, just be aware that they are actually right. You don't have the Cities of Sigmar keyword, and so therefore the Har Kuron doesn't affect either of the Thunderers or the Ironclad in this unit. So it's a 1-drop list. It's a heavily spec'd into shooting list. Because you've got 30 Iron Drakes with a bridge, you've got a Sorceress that stabs a Dread Spear and then casts it with +3 to cast, so you're looking for a 3 on 2 dice, which is, 1 in 36 casts you will fail it. Hopefully that won't be on the first turn. And basically you move the Iron Drakes forward, you buff them up as much as you possibly can, you keep them within range of your Rune Lord General. To get the +1 to wound, you keep them in range of the Har Kuron for the +1 to hit, so you got them on 2s and 2s, keep them wholly within 12 inches of the Longbeards. That gives them reroll 1s to wound, and the Iron Drakes are basically unkillable. Like you can try and charge stuff into them even when they're standing and shooting. With 30 Iron Drakes, even if you don't get the full 60 shots, even 30 on 2s and 2s rerolling 1s, -2 rend is going to absolutely waste anything that tries to charge them. So really strong from that point. Characters are very threadbare, so I've gone basically the Rune Lord as the general to get the command trait. I've gone the Sorceress as the adjutant, so you get the command point bonus, and then I've got the Har Kuron with the battle mage on it. So, and at the moment, the Har Kuron's got the Amulet of Destiny, which I think is probably the best choice. You could put it on the Rune Lord as well if you really wanted to. But I think that it's, as it is, it's fine in this list at the moment. And I don't think I've chosen a prayer on the Rune Lord, but I think either curse or heal, either of those is perfectly acceptable in this list. It's got really good mobility because the bridge can, move the Iron Drakes 20 or 30 inches from where they start, I think, given everything. Is that right? Anyway, it's more than 18 because you take them from one side of the bridge, put them on the other, and then you're moving units. So it's probably about, it's probably about 30. You can put them onto an objective if there's nothing on it. You can shoot something else and then charge them onto some chaff that's on an objective, because they do get +1 to run and charge because of the musicians in their unit. You're taking them out of all your buffer ranges then, but if it's, if that's going to win you the game, if you've gone Conquer and you really need to get onto that objective, it's not a bad way to get it. Everything in the list has, sorry, not everything in the list. Everything in the list has a 2+ armor save the first turn and is +3 to move. So the Ironclad can fly high, go onto an objective, sit there with 2+ armor save, which is really good. And the 1-drop essentially allows you to dictate how you think the game's going to play out with this list. So either you can go first, get on objectives, and kind of alpha off his models, your opponent's models, if they don't screen them properly, or you sit back, wait for them to come towards you, and then you play a reactionary game. And really, if you get the second turn if you get the double turn with this list, your opponent probably shouldn't be alive. It's got that same vulnerability that Har Kuron Overlord lists do. However, you've got 30 Iron Drakes in this list. So I kind of like it. I think that it's quite a nice list. I think it's very strong. I don't think it's overly balanced. If something gets into combat with the Iron Drakes or the Ironclad, it's going to be a bad day. But you get the opportunity to stand and shoot before they get into you, regardless of what they're going to charge. And you really should be rolling you know, an entire flank with the Ironclad and 10 Thunderers. The 10 Thunderers loadouts, I prefer them just all with rifles, but I think that there can be an argument made for all the other weapons as well. But I think with the Ironclad, and I think in this list you give them the cannon, and then the what's it called, the volley gun, basically, because you're getting +1 to hit and wound. The volley gun's really strong, and the cannon's also really strong, but it's already got a 2+ to wound on the single shot, so it's up to you really. I don't think you take the Skyhook in this list. I think that's best in an actual Caradron Overlords list. But yeah, 1980, so decent bid for the Triumph. 109 wounds, a lot of rallies, you'll get some of them back. And yeah, you got the Inspired Triumph for the turn that, you know, maybe the Thunderers aren't wholly within 12 inches and they can use that, or the Ironclad can use it as well. So yeah, really strong and really thematic, and I quite like this list. Alright, so Misthaven's a bit of a weird list. It wants you to take Drakespawn units, basically. It wants you to take a Dreadlord and Black Dragon, and wants you to take Drakespawn units, which is fine, because the Drakespawn Knights at 125 were actually worth considering, I think, in this edition. They're quite a strong option, basically, and so I think that when you're dropping them down and throwing units of 5 at your opponent, when you can get them to +1 to hit, or +1 armor save to hold things up, and then you also get +1 to wound from the Dreadlord and Black Dragon's command ability, I think they're kind of worth it. So the trick with this list is that you take the Dreadlord, and I think the first turn you deep strike him in, you then move him d6 inches and then charge something, and then second turn you deep strike in 5 Drakespawn Knights, move them d6 inches, charge them in, and then the third turn you drop in the third unit of Drakespawn Knights, and move them d6 inches and charge them in. I really like it from that point of view. I think it's a cool, fun list. The Dreadlord, you give him Sinister Outcome so that he's got the +1 to hit, which is quite good, and his command ability is really good when you've got, you know, himself and 2 units of Drakespawn Knights wholly within 12. +1 to wound, really strong. The second aspect to this list is the Assassin with the Strangler Kelp Noose. So I quite like that he is able to basically jump out of a unit, in this case probably one of the Shadow Warrior units, but also potentially the Dark Shards, to basically stop your opponent's big bad from fighting. So whether it's a Bloodthirster, whether it's Archaon, whether it's Nagash, any of those options, basically you drop the Assassin out, he pops Strangler Kelp Noose, and they can't fight for that entire phase. So you get to put a few little wounds through, and then if you get the double turn, you do that on the bottom of the turn, and then on the top of the turn you retreat out of combat, and that's 2 turns out of possible 10 that they're not fighting in combat, which is super strong. You're basically reducing their effectiveness by 20% if they are a combat model and that's what they want to do. Celestant Prime, you give him the Witch Mist, I think, just because it's, you know, 3+ unrendable save is really good. He doesn't have an after save, so he struggles a bit if he's, you know, if your opponent's got high rend and they're trying to put wounds through. So I think that's good. The current meta skews people towards taking high rend or mortal wounds. Mortal wounds are sad. Celestant Prime doesn't get a save against that. Try and put him near some mystical terrain, but that's the best you can possibly do. He does bring you some ranged mortals output, which you don't really have in this list. Like, you've got the Hurricanum, you should have the Hurricanum in every list. It's got the Skiffer's Salve, which is the heal d6 once a game, which again is quite strong. But between Celestant Prime and the Hurricanum, you should be able to put some mortal wounds down range. And then you've got the 3 units of Darkling Covens to basically enable you to put the Dreadlord and 2 units of Drakespawn Knights in the heavens. That's basically what it's there for, because you need a unit of Darkling Covens Free Guild or Dispossessed, and the Shadow Warriors don't count. So, and the Shadow Warriors, the other thing, how I would be using them in this list is using one as a screen for your Dark Shards. So when you're about to get charged by a big bad and you think they're going to go in the next turn, you drop the Shadow Warriors down in front of them, you'll wait for your opponent to charge, and then you pop out that Assassin. And that way you can stand and shoot with the 30 Dark Shards that have the Hurricane behind them. 1965 is a really strong bid, so you should have +1 to wound. You can pop at that turn, or the subsequent turn, whichever one. You know, they don't have any rend, but 60 shots hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s is not horrible. 20 wounds they need to make arm saves for. Not bad. You don't have a priest, unfortunately, to give them mortals. You don't have a priest to curse, which is sad times. You could probably fit it into this list, but I think that it's strong within itself anyway. Yeah, so I don't think this list is overly competitive, but I think it's fun, and that's what most of us are playing the game for, right? And yeah, because you want to get the Strangler Noose and the Amulet of Destiny on the Dreadlord to stop them from dying, you do need to take the Warlord Battalion, and then the second battalion you take is the Battle Regiment, so you're at 5 drops. So not the most, not the most drops, but not the least drops either. Yeah, so if anyone wants to play Misthavn, this is probably what I would be playing if I were to play them. Oh, Har Kuron. One of my favourite cities. They took a bit of a beating going from 2nd edition to 3rd, but that's alright. I think we're able to get around it. So, Marathicane, Shadow Queen, 10 Bow Snakes. That's basically the list. And then you fill the rest with units to maximise, to get your drops up to 12, basically, so that you can take those 3 units of Daughters of Cain. You also always want the Umbral Spell Portal because you're playing a Vitriolic Spray build. The unfortunate thing with the list at the moment is that it doesn't have the caveat in the spell lore that allows Marathicane to take lore spells. So I've asked for clarification on that and asked them to to do something about that. I've zero confidence they actually will. So for the moment, again, similar to Tempest, she can't take. She doesn't benefit from the Allegiance ability because she's a unique model. So at the moment, she's just casting Arcane Bolts, her Black Horror of Olgu, or Mystic Shield, which isn't bad. But all she's really there for is to spend a command point each turn to make the Bow Snakes shoot twice. That's basically it. So the rest of the list, so the Black Ark Fleet Master, him being general, makes you able to take Scourge Runner Chariots as battle line, which are really good speed bumps, basically, and they put out a little bit of ranged firepower. They basically just get in the way. The problem with them being, with him being general in this list, is that they give up, they're quite easy to get the broken ranks battle tactic from, but you've got 2 units of 10 Dread Spears. They're not as good, but they're not as easy, but they're still very easy to get that off. So I don't think it's that big a deal. The Traders, he has the Traders banner, which is that one that's -1 to hit, wholly within 12. It's actually quite a big bubble. When I was playing with it, I was quite surprised how much stuff I could actually fit in that bubble. And -1 to hit is really good, especially against range, because there's a lot of range in the current meta, especially with all the Tzeentch flying around and all the pink horrors and shit that you have to deal with. Murderous Zeal is really strong, so 6 is a hit, trigger another hit. In this list, because you can't stack it anymore, in 2nd edition you could stack it with 6's Cause Mortals on the Bloodstalkers. I think now all that you're going to do is put it on the Shadow Queen whenever humanly possible, because her generating wounds on a 6 to hit is, generating an extra hit on a 6 to hit is absolutely huge with her, because you can make her a 2+ to hit and then roll your 8 dice. Any 1s miss, but any 6s generate an extra hit. So anyone that plays that basically knows that you should be getting on dice an equal number of 6s as you do 1s, and so you should basically, a 2+ with exploding 6s basically gives you all of them hitting. Obviously it doesn't work out that way on the table. You'll be in that situation where you roll your 5 1s and then your 2 6s and you'll be like, Simon lied to me. But that's, most of the time it should work quite well. I've put an Amulet of Destiny on one of the sorceresses, basically just because you can't put it on Marathicane anymore. It's just to protect your Vitriolic Spray, because that really is clutch in this list. Bloodstalkers want it, Dark Shards want it, even the Scourge Runner Chariots have 4 little shitty bow shots that can get through. And the Shadow Queen, now that she's only got Rend 1, she really likes Vitriolic Spray going off on an important target. So yeah, it is a fun list. As I said, I did really well with a very similar list in 2nd edition. Obviously, I was taking things to be facetious at the time, but this was the list without the Serpent Chariot, and what it would have been. I think I got an extra 10 Dark Shards. I think I had 30 Dark Shards in that list back in 2nd edition. But yeah, I think that this list is really competitive. I think you can make it even more competitive by taking out shit and including the Bloodstalkers. I think all you do is take out the Bloodstalkers and Scourge Runners and put in Gotrek, and I think it's probably almost a stronger list. But I like this list because Gotrek's just an easy sub-in if people want to. But I quite like this list as it is. Scourge Runners body block, Dark Shards and Bloodstalkers shoot shit with Vitriolic Spray on it. Shadow Queen and Marathicane do their thing. It works quite well, and it's a really fun list. So this list I quite like. It's almost full filth. I say that because I'm taking a list to the tournament this weekend, which I think is full filth. This is about 90% of the way there. So I'll go through it now. Again, it's similar to the previous list, except now we can take Aetherwings to basically space out our numbers to get to 12 drops to enable us to take 3 units of Lumineth. The 3 units of Lumineth that we're taking with this one are Lyrior, the 10 Orlan Wardens, and then taking them makes the Venari Sentinels battle line, and so you take a max unit of Sentinels. People love units of 30 Sentinels. Just ask anyone that you play against. They're just really fun and really engaging. But that joke aside, Lyrior is actually engaging and fun. So he gives you an extra command point in your hero phase on a 2+, which is good. You've also then got a general and an adjutant to get another one on a 4+. Lyrior has an 18-inch bubble around him that makes stuff immune to battle shock in Settler's Gain, which is really strong. Plus he's got an innate -1 to hit and +1 to cast his Greater Parafish spell. So yeah, I think that's a really fun combo. And he's also his sword, I don't know, one of his weapons shoots 18 inches. That's also really strong. He's really good. The other option is that you can save some points and make the Lord Regent, put in the Lord Regent instead of Lyrior. He doesn't get the 2+ command point. He doesn't get the fancy shooting sword. He still gets Great Parafish. He still has -1 to hit and +1 to cast. The only the upside of taking that is that he's got a 5 attack sword, which is 2+ to hit, 3+ to wound, and you can put flaming weapons on that to make it damage 2 instead of damage 1, which is strong. And when you downgrade him, you can also put the Chronomantic cogs in, which means that all your mages get an extra spell, which is never a bad thing unless you're playing against Cinch. Having 3 units of Aetherwings is actually quite good because they can quite easily do the Ferocious Advance, because then you don't want them typically charging anything anyway, and so you can always run them and finish within 3 inches of each other, and then the next turn you just go Savage Spear and you run them again into your opponent's territory, so you send 2 of them into your opponent's territory and then you send 1 off to the side to kind of body block, and then third turn they can just pick up objectives if your opponent comes off them. So I quite like the birds in this list. It gives you quite a bit of versatility. Yeah, Sentinels are obviously great. Everybody knows that. But what you can do in this city is that you've got the Short of Light spell, which gives them a 6+ after save. So you can put that either on the handgunners or the Sentinels. I'd probably put it on the Sentinels because they're higher value than the handgunners. And you know, you've got Life Swarm just in case your Sentinels die. You can bring them back. The handgunners are they're okay. They're there because in the fluff, the Free Guild are a big part of Settler's Gain, and so I put them in basically for fluff reasons. That's why you got the 2 units of Free Guild Guard and the unit of the Free Guild Handgunners, just basically because it's fluffy. And the Free Guild General, I'm not a big fan of the Free Guild General. I don't think he's really that useful anymore. In this list, actually, it might be not horrible to put in, as I've said on the right, a Soul Screen Bridge, because that's another thing you could do if you took out Lyrior and put in a Lord Regent, because you can do the command ability on the Free Guild General to give the handgunners +1 to hit and wound, and then teleport them, and so they're on a 3 to hit and a 2 to wound, which is really quite strong. And then when they charge you, you're still on a 3 to hit and a 2 to wound. So if they're in range of the Har Kuron, I'm just going to put that caveat there. Which is still really good. You know, 30 shots, 3s to hit, 2s to wound, rend 1 damage when they're standing and shooting, and they can do it for free without a command point. Really strong. And yeah, I just think this list is strong. It's definitely strong because you've got 30 Sentinels and 30 handgunners. You've got the chaff of the Wardens and the Free Guild Guard. You've got the 3 units of Aetherwings. You've got Lyrior and 3 other heroes. They're all spells because the Free Guild General takes a book that has Flaming Weapon on it, so you give him a damage 3 weapon, which is just there for shits and giggles, basically. You can also give him the artifact that gives him an extra 2 or 3 attacks. I can't remember what it's called, but that's the other option instead of making him a wizard. And yeah, I think that this is. Oh yeah, and the battle mages get +1 to cast. The battle mage on foot and the one on the Har Kuron both get +1 to cast anyway. And then they get +1 to cast for being near the Har Kuron, and then they get +1 to cast if they're casting an endless spell. So they're all on 3+, and the battle mage is re-rolling. You can make him a 4+ if you turn him into a Gur battle mage, but I think that the -1 to hit with and it's also thematic to have him hish. I think that's a better option, especially with, you know, you're getting 2 spells, so you can do Shield of Light and Fast Protection in the same turn. But yeah, highly recommended. This is a fun list. You should take it if you're able. Now this list, I'm a little bit, again, there's a caveat that the thing doesn't work the way that I want it to. So the Anointed and Flame Spy Phoenix. So with the general, with the trait Cunning Foe, he can run and charge, and he's -1 to hit if he does run and charge. So back in 2nd edition, when you could retreat, when a normal move to include retreating and running, he was average. You know, 5 mortal wounds for something that you fly over is still not horrible. But he just wasn't that great at the points cost. Now that he's come down and he's got heroic actions and he's got monstrous actions, he is quite good for 290 points. Not to mention he can come back on a 4+ when he dies with 4 wounds. Like, that's just crazy in itself. This command trait is really strong if he's able to retreat and charge and burn stuff when he retreats, because, you know, you can heal him in your hero phase, and then you retreat him out, burn something on the way, then he charges into something else. It's just the question of, especially when you can get flaming weapon, like the bird's talons are shit compared to the Frost Heart, but it's something that can potentially do damage. 3 damage, you know, 6 attacks, 4s and 3s can do damage. Yeah. Hopefully they change it so that it works properly, but I don't think it does at the moment, so that's a shame. So basically, if that's the case, you just find some points somewhere else and turn him into a Frost Heart, basically, instead of a Flame Spire, which is it's a shame, but it is what it is. The other things you've got are the Battle Mage. So Bundo's at the top. You should have noticed Bundo already. It's just an excuse to get Bundo in. He's quite fluffy in Excelsis, because Excelsis is the city in the realm of Gur that, you know, Bundo was helping out when his mates were trying to smash it down. And all you're doing in this list is having his old mate, the Battle Mage, running around behind him, casting, what's the spell called? Wild Form, to give him +2 to run and charge, and basically just getting him into shit. And then when he takes damage, you cast Life Swarm, heal him for 2d3, and you heroic heal him. Basically, this list is designed to keep Bundo alive and just have him smashing stuff, which is, it's fun. Let's be honest, having a Mega Gargan is fun. And all of you would have seen that I've recently had a Kraken Eater Mega Gargan painted up, specifically to run this list, because I think it's good fun. The Phoenix Guard. So as well as the Anointed on Flame Spire being good because he can run and charge, he also makes Phoenix Guard battle line. Phoenix Guard in Excelsis are actually pretty good because they've got this command ability called Riposte, which basically if you roll a 6 up on an armor save, an unmodified 6, then your opponent takes a mortal wound, right? And because you've got an after save, the ones that are failing are getting an after save, after which you get more opportunities to roll those 6s to save. So basically, even if your Phoenix Guard have 0 output whatsoever, you're putting them into basically your opponent's just killing themselves by putting more and more attacks into you. And so I really quite like that. Gift of Prophecy is quite strong, so you can give the Free God Handgunners +1 to hit when they're standing and shooting, for example, to counter the Unleash Hell, to counter the -1 to hit when they do that. You can give it on the Phoenix Guard to give them +1 to hit. You can't, in my interpretation, give it to Bundo, because the mercenary rules in the Sons of Behemat book basically say they can't benefit from allegiance abilities, and Gift of Prophecy I think is very clearly an allegiance ability, so you can't put it on him. But you know, the Handgunners or the Phoenix Guard both benefit from it. The Anointed on Flamespire also benefits from it, because the Birdo only hits on a 4 instead of a 3, so if you got it in the hitting on a 3 and the guy on top hitting on a 2, not horrible. I think that this list will be fun. You've seen today that Emerald Life Swarm is in a number of lists that I've run, and I just think that it's a really strong endless spell, especially when you've got a big thing like Bundo that you don't want to die. And yeah, so this list is basically made for fun. It's a narrative-ish list, and I think that people will enjoy running this list because everyone likes to play against Mega Gargants, apparently. He is worth only 5 models. I will just make note of that. One of the strengths of Mega Gargants is that they can be worth 20 or 30 on an objective. But I still think that he's good enough in this list to be able to take him and have him smash your opponent, even if he's only worth 5 models on the table. And that's us for today. Thank you everybody for watching the video. I am playing a 2-day tournament on the weekend with a nasty Settlers game list, as I alluded to earlier. So instead of the 30 Handgunners, I've got 30 Iron Drakes with the requisite Longbeards and some other stuff. So it's pure filth. I'm looking forward to playing it, and there will obviously be a tournament report coming out next week based on how I go on the weekend. I am secretly hoping to win the entire thing. I don't think I will. I'm not sure that I play strongly into some of the worst matchups, such as I'm pretty sure that Archeon's an issue. I'm pretty sure that Zench is an issue. Any list that has Be'lakor, really, like, it's not an absolute, it's not game over, but it's difficult. But we'll talk more about that list in the video next week. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will talk to you then.